Hi, I'm Amber,
And I'm Kirsten.
and you're listening to
Lurking in the Shadows. Welcome back, Shadows.
I was waiting for you to say hi.
Oh, hi.
I always say hi.
Hello. Hello.
How you doing?
Happy November,
Yes, we are in November now.
I guess.
Well, this will be posted in November?
This will be
Yes, this will be.
the second episode in November.
Cool. Yeah, staying ahead of the game.
Yep.
That's how I like it. Well, apparently we're giving you guys a juicy November. I hope you've been enjoying it so far, but it will continue.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed last week's True Crime in a Dime.
Hell yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was, I think, one of my favorites we've done.
I can't wait to go back. It might be the episode that I do finally re-listen. I haven't re-listened to a single episode because I can't stand my voice. But it might be the one that I...
Yeah, that was, if you didn't listen, go listen to it. It's a good one. It's a juicy one.
Yeah.
And funny.
Very funny. But we keep it rolling today with a case some of you may know because it is famous in the UK. Dennis Nilsen is who we are talking about today.
Maybe we should just title this Brutal November.
Brutal, yeah, right.
Because all the cases in this month are going to be pretty brutal.
Oh, no. We didn't mean it, but maybe we did. I don't know.
No, it's just kind of how it worked out.
It is.
Yeah.
I decided to take on a really big case because I had some extra time, and then I wound up getting sick anyway, but, banged this one out. This is a good one. You're in for a long one today. So I'm sure you're aware since you clicked on this episode, but... and I do suggest even split it up yourself if you have to. Take a break. This one's a pretty rough one. I want to make sure everybody is aware. The trigger warnings for this one is pretty bad. Definitely a lot of necrophilia and things like that in here. So,
woohoo!
Yeah.
And I think this is only our second serial killer.
Is it?
That we've done. Because I did the one back in Pride Month. Of that one that like no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
The Hampton Roads killer.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. I mean, we've done...
And then we had Joanne Dennehy. She was more of a spree killer than a serial killer.
Yeah, we've had with multiple victims, but I don't think we've technically had did a serial killer yet. So, well, I didn't know all these details of this one either. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't know much about him.
You don't? So this is all going to be new to you?
Yeah.
All right, hell yeah. I'm glad to traumatize you just as much as it traumatized me.
Yeah.
So, all right. We'll jump right in. Born in Fraserburgh, Aberdeenshire, on November 23rd, 1945, Dennis Andrew Nilsen unfortunately entered the world. Born in Scotland, he was the middle child of three to parents Elizabeth, or Betty, Duthie White, and Olav Magnus Mockshine, but Olaf took the surname Nilsen before Dennis was born. Olaf was born in Norway and was a Norwegian soldier. And after the invasion of Norway by Nazi Germany, Olaf made his way to Scotland, where he met Elizabeth. They married in May of 1942. During the middle of the war, the newlyweds had to move in with Elizabeth's parents, where they began popping out those kids. They had Olaf Jr., Dennis, and Sylvia, all while Olaf was in and out of their lives. Being preoccupied by war, he also picked up a terrible habit of alcoholism. Elizabeth's mother, Lily, is quoted saying, quote, "She rushed into marriage without thinking," end quote. Let's just say
That's a
her...
great way to describe your marriage.
Yeah, that's mother's support, you know. Let's just say her parents, Lily and Andrew, did not approve of this marriage, obviously. They did, however, approve of that divorce in 1948. Dennis enjoyed picnics with the family in the countryside. He was described as a quiet kid, but curious and adventurous. He remembers piggyback rides from his grandfather, Andrew. He was only 5, but remembers these walks vividly. When his grandfather was out working at sea, he said he felt empty and always missed him. He holds fond memories of his childhood. The one thing that was troublesome for him was his parents were Presbyterians and his mom was a Roman Catholic. They raised the kids with stern religious upbringing, focusing on sins of the flesh. And if you recently saw the Ed Gein Netflix show, that gives an example of what some harsh religious upbringings can do to a boy's mind.
Yeah.
Even if that documentary wasn't that accurate, it gives an example.
Right, yeah.
Nilsen lived content with his relationship with his grandfather up until he died of a heart attack on October 31st, 1951, while still working at sea at the age of 62. This loss was a huge blow to Dennis and a changing point on how he viewed death. His grandfather's body was brought back to the house before burial, and Dennis was asked if he wanted to see his grandfather, and he said yes. When he went to view his grandfather's body, his mother said the typical, "Oh, your grandfather is in a better place now, and he's just sleeping." Dennis believes this failure for his mother to teach him about death properly contributed to his murderous ways later on.
Because she told him a dead body was sleeping.
Oh, there's 1,000 different ways, quote unquote, that he thinks messed him up, that made him commit all these murders. Okay. You know, you'll hear all about him.
Okay.
He's quoted saying in the book Killing for Company, he states, quote, "My trouble started there. It blighted my personality permanently," end quote. Over the following years, Dennis became more of a recluse. He stopped participating in family activities. He began rejecting affection from family members. It seemed like they tried to bring Dennis out of his funk, but it never worked. He could be found alone by the harbor watching the boats come in and out. And I couldn't help but think that maybe this was his way of being close to his grandfather. One person Nilsen did try to stay close to was his younger sister, Sylvia. They would play together as siblings do, but he didn't have the same relationship with his older brother, Olaf Jr. Nilsen was jealous of how much attention his other siblings received from the other family members. In 1955, Nilsen's mother moved out of the grandparents' house after finding a new husband. His name was Adam Scott, who was a builder. Over the next 4 years...
She didn't take her kids with her?
Yeah, she did take the kids with her. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The kids went with. Yeah, they all moved out of the... Sorry. They all moved
okay.
out. Yeah. Over the next 4 years, they had 4 more kids together. He at first...
Oh, my.
It's a 7-kid household now. He at first did not like his stepfather, but in time he respected him. Around this time, when Nilsen was down by the harbor, he became trapped under the water and was being dragged out to sea. He was very close to drowning when another boy pulled him from the water, saving him. As he started to reach puberty is when things become very confusing for him because he found himself attracted to men. Being raised religious, I'm sure this weighed heavy on him, but the other confusing part of discovering his sexuality at this developing age is he found himself attracted to boys with similar features as his younger sister, Sylvia.
Weird.
Yeah. There were also circumstances that Dennis talked about in the book Killing for Company, where he claimed he molested both his sister and his older brother. He did
Oh my.
this to Olaf Jr. while he was sleeping. Olaf had this suspicion of Dennis being gay, and he even would insult Dennis in public using terms like hen, which is slang for girl. Other classmates also bullied Dennis, both verbally and physically. So he's going through all this bullying in a fragile age for a young boy while also living in almost poverty. His parents made ends meet, but Dennis felt stuck in the small town where, with nowhere to go and no way to grow where he is. His peers also lived a more wealthy lifestyle compared to him, and that really bugged him as a teen. So by the age of 14, he decided to join the Army Cadet Force. He believed his only way out of his situation would be to join the British Army. Dennis took his studies pretty seriously in school, excelling in history and art. He was not into sports at all. He graduated in 1961, and while he was making his final choices on the Army, he worked briefly in a canning factory. But it only took him 3 weeks for him to inform his family he was going to join the Army officially. He wanted to be a chef in the Army. He passed his entrance exams and began what seemed to be a really positive thing for Dennis as a new chapter in his life. In September 1961, he started his first day of the next 9 years with the Army Catering Corps, and he started stationed at Aldershot, Hampshire. He again took his duties seriously and had a successful military career, and Dennis is quoted saying, quote, "the happiest time of my life," when asked about his time in the military. He got to travel for his training and also marched in a parade that the Queen had attended. A skill the culinary career taught Dennis was butchering animals. He became pretty good at it, and these skills helped him with his killings.
Great.
He great.
What a wonderful skill to
Yeah,
have.
Some people just even if you're not a chef, some people just have those skills of butchering animals, so
I guess.
he made sure he kept his sexual orientation a secret in the military. He would go out of his way to not be naked or around the other naked men. And Nilsen worked hard in his studies, and by 1964 he had passed his catering exam. He was sent to be stationed with the 1st Battalion of the Royal Fusiliers in Osnabrück, West Germany. Germany, man. All those names get me.
Yeah.
He found himself enjoying some good old brews in Germany with his fellow privates. He described them all as, quote, hard-working boozy lot. His colleagues believed he drank in excess to give him some liquid courage because he was shy. One night, they were partying, and a miner who ended up drinking himself to blacking out, like Dennis did, and Dennis woke up, passed out on the floor of this boy's flat, but nothing bad had reportedly happened. However, this made Dennis's twisted mind take what happened and turn it into a possible sexual fantasy. This caused him to
Go against him?
Yeah, that he passed out, blacked out, both of them, and that he was then found, he woke up and the boy was still sleeping in the apartment. And this is really when it kind of started for him, I think, because he's a virgin at this point and has not had any experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for him, this made his mind come up with twisted stuff that I don't know. I can't get into a killer's head like this, guys. So
yeah.
But this is when his sexual fantasies.
I hope he's imagining it was consensual.
I I don't think so. I really don't think so. That was
No.
any part of his concerns of consent.
Great.
This caused him to progressively move to bolder things while drunk. He would pretend to be passed out in hopes that one of the other men he was partying with would take advantage of his unconscious body.
What? He wants to be assaulted?
Yes. So I'm saying his brain started going at this point in different directions, and I think he's trying to figure out what he likes in his twisted way.
Okay.
He also expressed he wanted a partner to be submissive at first, but his fantasies spiraled into wanting to take full advantage of a dead or unconscious body. He completed his time at the Germany base.
That escalated quick.
Say that again.
That escalated quick.
You know? Yeah. This is good. It's going to keep escalating. Just to let you know, we're not even peaking. So
yeah.
He completed his time at the Germany base as a chef and was eager for his next assignment. In 1967, he was reassigned and was assigned to the state of Aden, which later became a part of Yemen, but was part of Norway at the time. In this location, he served as a cook in Al-Mansura prison. During this time and in his current location made conditions more hostile. He experienced more violence and even experienced being kidnapped in this area. The taxi driver took him captive and beat him unconscious. When Dennis woke up, he apparently overtook the driver and beat him with a jack he had found. After he had beat the man, he locked the man in his own trunk. So these are all little events that are sprinkled in that I think also contributed to how he interacted with socializing out in public, because you'll see that like he just becomes a full-blown alcoholic, and it seems like anytime he was out in public it was because of alcohol.
Okay.
While Nilsen was stationed in Aden, he had his own space. This allowed him to live his fantasies alone. I believe Dennis was able to battle the demons he had by self-pleasuring, but when that became something that was not as satisfying, his crimes escalated quickly. He described enjoying pleasuring himself to the reflection in the mirror of his prone body, but with his head cut off. So it was just his body that he was looking at, and he could let his imagination then go wild.
So he looked at his body in the mirror and imagined his head was cut off.
Yeah, well, like he would cut his head off so that he could imagine that that was somebody else's body. And,
gotcha.
Yeah.
He was standing at an angle where he couldn't see his head.
Yes. Yeah, like so that is.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is another warning as we get into. I wrote another warning in here as we get into this. Because there's no way of avoiding how sick this guy is. Okay, like it's just this is his story.
Mm-hmm.
What Dennis really wanted was someone to not fight back for him to take advantage of, and his fantasies eventually turned into more sinister thoughts about being with a dead body. He sometimes would put talc powder on his body and blue on his lips while he masturbated in the mirror, visualizing himself as a dead body. He did indulge in sex workers from time to time in his military travels, and his first sexual experience was with a woman that was a sex worker. And when later asked about I keep eyeing because I don't know why I'm awkward about this. This case is rough. His first experience with a woman was with a sex worker, and when asked later about it, he stated being with a woman was overrated and depressing.
Oh, okay.
He even got some of the other privates to act out scenes of war and have them lie dead on the ground, and Dennis would take pictures of them. He was known to carry a camera around with him to snap different shots of life and traveling, but of course he had to use it in a more malicious way as well.
They didn't think that was weird?
I bet he spit a good story of like, yeah, I just want to like a war movie, some pictures or whatever. But in reality, he was like, that was for his own self. Like,
Mm-hmm.
ugh. In 19,
I hope they were close.
I think they were. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't have been for those.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1971, Dennis was sent back to the UK and was assigned with the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders in Plymouth, Devon. He stayed he stayed there a year, cooking for 30 men every day. He was next sent to West Berlin to continue with the Highlanders until he was selected to cook for the Queen's Royal Guards. He then finished his military career cooking in Shetland Islands in October of 1972. He finished his career as a corporal. He returned home for about 3 months while he decided what he wanted to do. While he was there, he spent some time with his siblings, who were now married. Olaf, the brother, fought with Dennis about him being gay, and he even went and told his mother that Dennis was gay. His mother always expressed to him how she wanted him to find a woman and have a family, so this upset the family. And Dennis moved out not long after to London, and he really did not keep in touch with his family after that. He decided to join the Metropolitan Police. The other part of London Dennis was eager to enjoy was the nightlife and the more progressive gay scene that they have. He completed his training and joined the police department in the beginning of 1973. His career wasn't too exciting with just a couple of arrests. In one situation, Dennis had found 2 men in a car together having sex, and at this time, being gay was illegal. Dennis couldn't bring himself to arrest them and found that maybe his career was in conflict with his lifestyle.
Sounds like it.
This troubled him enough that by the end of 1973, he had left that job. Dennis is still going to bars and drinking. He started exploring gay bars more and would have a few hookups with men, but Nilsen did state how he was interested in having a relationship. His next job for only a few months was a security guard, and by May 1974, he got a more stable job as a civil servant. He would find employment for unskilled people looking for work. He kept to himself at work, but would pull overtime when he could. He even got a promotion in 1979 to executive officer, and this is the career he sustained until his arrest. One night, out drinking in November, Dennis came across a man being harassed by 2 guys outside of a bar. Dennis stepped in and helped this man, and his name was David Galligan. He joined Dennis back at his flat on Pegmouth Road, where they drank and talked. Galligan had just moved to the area. He was unemployed, staying in a hostel, and also was gay. After having a good night together, they decided they should move in together, but they needed to find a bigger place.
After one night together?
Yep. Within a few days, they had went and looked at a ground-level apartment at 195 Melrose Avenue. After talking to the landlord and negotiating them having sole access to the garden on the property, the men decided to take it and move in. They settled in together, but Gallican didn't put a lot of effort in employment, which put strain on the relationship. He claims Dennis was never physically abusive towards him, but was verbally abusive. The relationship grew apart, and after about a year, they started bringing home other sexual partners. By the middle of 1977, Gallican had moved out, ending the relationship. Dennis continued searching for someone to live with him, but after multiple relationships that only lasted a few weeks, it seemed nothing was sticking for him. He was focusing on his job by 1978, but still frequented bars and partying. Dennis wanted to fill the void he had and just wanted someone to stay with him. On December 30th, 1978, Dennis went out to Cricklewood Arms Bar, where he ended up meeting 14-year-old Stephen Holmes.
At a bar?
At a bar. Dennis thought he was 17, not 14, and when he witnessed Holmes getting turned away when he tried to order alcohol, he had to jump on that opportunity. He invited Holmes back to his place with promises of alcohol and just hanging out. And that's what they did, with Dennis and Holmes passing out together. Dennis woke up in the morning before Holmes. Dennis didn't want to be alone for the new year, so he decided he wanted him to, quote, stay with me over the New Year's whether he wanted to or not, end quote.
Okay.
After caressing the sleeping boy's body, Dennis rolled on top of Stephen and began strangling him. This only knocked him out. So Dennis killed him by drowning his unconscious body in a bucket of water.
Oh, so he was trying to kill him.
He strangled him until being unconscious, and then when he realized that Stephen was still slightly breathing, his idea was to fill up a plastic bucket and put his head in it and drown him.
And that's his way of keeping him through the new year.
Yep.
Okay. I could have just asked first.
Could have just asked first. Yeah, I mean,
they're going right to murder and forcing him.
Yeah, this is his first murder, so
that's
a big one.
Yeah, I wonder if he had planned that.
I don't know. We will have to discuss later what you think was going through motherfucking Dennis's head, because I can't. I don't know. There's so many viewpoints. We talk later the trial and the psychiatrist and all, I don't know, man. I don't know. After this struggle, Dennis took a minute to take in Stephen's body and figure out what his plan was. He decided to...
Yeah, you get that far ahead, I guess.
Nope. No, I think, and you'll see, I think a lot of these were just like, I'm acting, what I want, and no thoughts of repercussion or anything, or the acts following type of thing. He decided to bathe the body, dress it, and place him in the bed to keep him company. He pleasured himself in the bed onto the body, and he then stored the body in the floorboards for 8 months before he burned it in a fire that he made in the garden on August 11th, 1979.
He stored a body for 8 months. No one smelled anything?
We're going to get into it because it's not the only body, baby. Jesus Christ. It's not the only body.
And then he waited 8 months to dispose of it?
Mm-hmm. Because he enjoyed going back.
Oh, no.
I warned you about necrophilia.
How did he stand the smell?
He couldn't. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, you can get used to it eventually.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Not long after burning the body, Nilsen attempted to kill a student from Hong Kong. They met at the pub, and he lured the man, back to his home with promises of sex. When Dennis tried to strangle him, he managed to escape and went to the police. The police talked to Dennis, but no charges were filed. So that went
for attempted murder?
That went nowhere. Nope.
Did the Hong Kong student not want to press charges?
Yeah, that's what he didn't want to press charges. That's why.
Oh my god.
And I do think a lot of it, because of this one, and there's another example later of of this kind of happening too again, um, because being gay was illegal. I think a lot of men,
Yeah, they didn't want him to
yep,
know what they were doing.
yep, they were too afraid. Even though, quite literally, he was almost killed. We unfortunately are, and we still somewhat in a society like that now, almost, but we
Yeah.
are in a society at this point, at this time, that like that. I don't know. We didn't grow up in that time, but I'm sure it was taken quite seriously. So I think that's why a lot of the you'll see there are a few attempted murders that he did not succeed on, and I think the reasoning for them is majority of these men I do believe are gay. Whether or
Which
not,
is unfortunate because maybe some of these, murders wouldn't have happened then.
yeah, yeah, because they could have. Dennis probably could have. I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have gone away for a long time, but I mean, fucking attempted murder, you would think it would have been long
Right.
enough.
For a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. He was on a trip around England visiting his family. When Nilsen learns he is just visiting the area, he offers to show Kenneth around town, and he accepted. After showing him around, Nilsen invited Kenneth back to his place for drinks and music. Kenneth loved music, specifically rock and roll. So these two were just vibing at Dennis's, listening to music, cracking jokes, and having some drinks. Nilsen claims he can't quite remember the exact moment he decided to strangle Kenneth, but he knows it was with the cord of his headphones while he was listening to the music. After he killed him, he poured himself another glass of rum and continued vibing with the body right there. He put the headphones that he just strangled the man with on and listened to music. He finished his drink and then went to wash Ken's body and laid it naked in bed next to him.
I don't know how I feel about him washing these bodies.
He does it multiple times too, to try and keep them fresh. He bathes them. This,
like multiple times.
yeah,
while he has them.
Yeah, as he keeps them, and this is grotesque.
You can't
I
clean
hate
off
this.
decay, sir.
You can't. But also, he is using these bodies for his own sexual pleasure. So, I think he's also trying to keep them clean for himself.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. This is where Ken's body would stay for the next 2 weeks with Nilsen, taking multiple photographs of the body in various positions. He also put talc powder to help with the smell and applied makeup to the discoloration and bruising on his body. He, of course, used Ken's body for his own sexual gratification. He claims that he never penetrated any of the bodies that he abused, but he used them in all other ways for you to use your imagination.
He did not penetrate them?
He claims, and up until the day he died, he never penetrated them. He said,
what was he doing with them?
So a lot of self-gratification, oral, and I forget what the terminology is, but also
Like he was performing oral?
No, he was getting
Oral from a dead body.
Yeah. I'm sure he was doing it to them too. And then also there's this wow. This is rough. There's a sexual act of masturbating with the thigh gap.
Oh god.
And he did that. So, and I'll leave
you
that
can't do this with a living person?
Nope. That's he becomes someone that people compared to Jeffrey Dahmer because
That's kind of what the vibe I'm getting here.
Yes, and that is the vibe. It's a still different than Jeffrey, but it is still kind of the same. Like wanting the full control, but like I feel like for Dennis it was more about the companionship, versus Jeffrey wanting like a total control. But Dennis does want control too. So yeah, if you're still here, I am so sorry about your trauma. Do not send me the bill. Okay. He said he wanted to keep the bodies nice, and that's why he would wash them, and he changed their underwear quite frequently.
Oh God.
He treated them like roommates, talking to them, propped him up at the dinner table, and going to bed with them. The disappearance of Kenneth became national news, and Dennis sat and watched it, probably with Ken's body, honestly.
I hope he washed his sheets often.
I hope so. You know, I didn't find in here that anybody said, like, besides the, decomposing bodies under the floorboards, that he lived in a nasty way or anything like that. On May 17th, 1980, 16-year-old Martin Duffy became Nielsen's third victim. Martin was from 16 years old, yeah. Martin was from Birkenhead and had hitchhiked to London without his parents knowing. When Dennis found him, he was already on his fourth night of sleeping on a bench. Dennis was getting off of the train from returning from a conference when they met, and when Dennis offered him a meal and a bed, he couldn't pass that up. He was exhausted and hungry. Martin fell asleep and
wonder why he hitchhiked there.
Why he what?
Why he like hitchhiked up there to just have nowhere to go.
Darn, I'm trying to think if I read exactly why he did it. But like I think it was honestly like whether it was a concert or like going up there for something, like it wasn't meant to be a runaway or like stay there permanently or anything like that. Like I think he wanted to get back home. He just so happened to unfortunately meet Dennis.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. Martin fell asleep in Nielsen's bed, and that is when Nilsen took a ligature and strangled him unconscious. This is when he took Martin into the kitchen and drowned him in the sink. He then repeated his pattern of washing the body and spending time with it. He is quoted saying, quote, "the youngest looking I had ever seen," end quote. And
youngest looking 16-year-old? What does he mean by that?
I guess youngest looking man like that he had attracted to or had in his life. The youngest looking I had ever seen. Maybe for 16 years old.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And of course, Nilsen, as a necrophiliac, would do what he does with the body. I don't think I need to list them out again.
Nah.
And he also began still moving the body around the house because he saw it as a companion. He stored the body in.
He just carried it room to room.
Room to room. Like, you want to looks over you. You want to move to the living room?
You need a potty break?
Yeah. I really don't know how far the conversations went, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't want to know either. He stored the body in a cupboard for 2 days until bloating began, so he put him under the floorboards. After this murder is when Nielsen's urges became too much for him to control, and I think with him getting away with it for the last 2 years made him more comfortable. He ended up killing 5 more victims in 1980, and sadly, of those 5, only 1 man was identified. And I want to
they never found them, or they just couldn't. They were too decayed or something.
Well, for all of these victims, and I'll go over, then he burns them on a bonfire. So there was nothing left of them to later identify them. All of these are by Nielsen's accounts. And when he comes out and talks about all of these victims, he later in 1992, and I actually didn't wind up putting this in here because I think he's a fucking liar. In 1992, he claims that all of these, of course, because it's all the unidentified ones, were fabricated by him. He claims that they weren't real. I think they are, absolutely. Just because in the moment, and I'm going to go over what each victim, what little description he gave of each victim, because he really didn't care that much, obviously.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that he's just making up these things on the spot to tell the police and then later on says that he just fabricated it. I don't believe that.
Right.
So I'm going to go over these few victims. So victim 1 was described as being 5'9" or 5'10" and between 27 to 30 years old. He was Irish, wore an old suit and jacket, and Nielsen met him at Cricklewood Arms.
And these are all Nielsen's descriptions. Like there was nothing left behind to like go off of.
These are all his, out of his mouth, interviewed by the police descriptions. Victim 2 was described as 5'10", between 20 and 30 years old. He was a prostitute with delicate gypsy features. He said he was either Mexican or Filipino, and they met in Salisbury Arms. Victim 3 was described as an Englishman in his 20s. He was skinny, frail, and was found sleeping in a doorway. He had some teeth missing and just seemed like a guy really struggling. He described killing him. The way he described killing him was, quote, as easy as taking candy from a baby, end quote.
Okay.
Yeah. Victim 4 was described as a long-haired hippie. He was English, between the age of 25 to 30. The one victim that was identified was 26-year-old William Sutherland. At this point, the growing number of bodies under the floorboards were bringing bugs and a foul odor to the apartment. He tried deodorant. Yeah, right. Yeah. He tried deodorant spray and bug spray to try and help, but there isn't a way to cover up decomp, which was actively happening to these bodies, no matter how much he washed them.
And bug spray is not going to keep bugs away from a decomposing body.
Nope. And like Kirsten said earlier, you can't wash away decay. Like, it's just going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So Nielsen decided he had to get rid of them, and so he burned them on a bonfire he had made behind his flat. He said 3 neighborhood kids came by to watch for a little. Dennis topped the pile with a tire to hopefully disguise the smell of the burning flesh and to also then like cover up the bodies that he's burning.
Did these kids that were watching see bodies?
No, and I read that also, like, he wrapped them in plastic bags and stuff too. But I mean,
okay.
But I'm guessing he just piled them right and put the tire on top just right that the kids couldn't see what was going on. When the fire burned down, he made sure there were no identifiable remains. He smashed a skull that was still intact in the fire. A quote from Nielsen's journal about his victims states, quote, "I could only relate to a dead image of the person I could love. The image of my dead grandfather would be the model of him at his most striking in my mind. It seems necessary for them to have been dead in order that I could express those feelings, which were the feelings I held sacred for my grandfather. It was a pseudo-sexual infantile love which had not yet developed and matured. The sight of them, the victims, brought me a bitter sweetness and a temporary peace and fulfillment." End quote.
So because when he pictures his grandpa, he sees him as dead. He wants all of his partners to be dead because that brings him comfort?
To me, the way the grandfather mixes into his fucked up way of the dead body thing, to me, is like he just never accepted that his grandfather was dead. Do you know what I mean? Like, he saw that body and never accepted that, like, his grandfather was dead. Now all he has as a picture. So then I think Nielsen's reality between life and death became obscure, and he couldn't differentiate the real extent of, like, taking somebody's life, and now you have a dead body and you're doing these, what he thinks is like human things with them. He's a companion. So I think that if we want to say that the whole, and he keeps relating back to it, like that the grandfather thing was like to blame here almost. If we want to take that as a reasoning to how he became how he was, I think that's my opinion, is that I think it was just a twisted, obscure reality between life and death that he just couldn't quite grasp because he never was taught it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like he didn't quite understand what his grandpa being dead really meant.
Yes, and then these victims come in because, like, he has this attitude of like, well, I want him to spend I want him for the New Year's, like, so he needs to stay, or him. There's different quotes later also, like, he like idolized it as an art form, like it is.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of psychopathy going on here.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'll be curious of your opinion then, of what you think mentally could have been going on. So January 4th, 1981, another identified victim that Dennis described as an 18-year-old blue-eyed Scot he had met at the Golden Lion, which was a bar. He lured him back to his place with promises of a good drinking competition between them. After several drinks, Nielsen strangled him with a tie. He was then stored under the floorboards with one of the other unidentified victims. And every time he needed to get rid of these bodies, we can collaborate Dennis taking time off of work for every single one up until the end. Every single victim he had, on the days he needed to get rid of their bodies, he took off of work. He called off work. The kills kept coming because by April he had killed 2 more victims that were never identified. So Dennis described them simply as the English skinhead who he had met in the West End of London. The other victim was Belfast Boy, in quotes. Dennis described him in his early 20s, 5'9", and he was another one that went under the floorboards with the rest of them. There was one more victim at this apartment, and these are the unidentified ones as well, that he lived in at Melrose, and that was 20.
So are we up to like 10 to 15 victims right now?
So at this first apartment, his total comes to 8 or 9 victims at this first apartment.
Okay.
Yeah. And the whole reason we are never able to actually confirm is because, again, he burns them, gets rid of them, and
is that 8 or 9 confirming or including those 5
unidentified? Yes. Yep. Okay. So one more victim here at the Melrose apartment where he lived, and that was 23-year-old Malcolm Barlow. He suffered from epilepsy. This one's sad. He suffered from epilepsy and was recently prescribed new medication. It caused him to become weak, and he fell slumping against a wall outside of Dennis's apartment. And motherfucking Dennis was home and went outside and found Malcolm. And Dennis helped him, holding him up, and suggested calling him an ambulance. Dennis brought him inside and did call for help. And Malcolm spent the night then in the hospital and was released the next day. This nice man went back to Dennis's apartment to thank him.
No.
On September 18th, 1981, Dennis then invited Malcolm in for some drinks and a meal. He ended up falling asleep on Dennis's couch, so Dennis strangled him and enjoyed the night with his body, placing him beneath the kitchen sink in the morning.
All because he was a good person.
Because he wanted to go say thank you. Yep. I'll never
I'm
go out
honestly
of my way to
surprised
thank
he
another
didn't
person.
kill him at their first encounter.
Say that again.
I'm honestly surprised he didn't kill him at their first encounter.
I am too. But also I'm thinking when he went out, you'll see, it's always with the alcohol. I bet Dennis saw him and like Dennis, it was probably middle of the day, he wasn't drunk or anything, and he's just like, oh, like
He wasn't prepared.
yeah, like he needs that liquid courage in him to commit these crimes for every single one. And so I think when he encountered him, it wasn't one of those moments where he was like, it was probably middle of the day type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
So around summer of 1981, the owner of the apartment wanted to renovate, so they offered Nilsen $1,000 after he was reluctant to leave for him to vacate. Wouldn't you like it if your landlord paid you $1,000 to get out?
Yeah, I would.
So the next apartment he had moved to was an attic at 23D Cranley Gardens. It was in North London.
Were there any bodies left behind when he left?
No, and I do.
Okay.
That's my next sentence, actually. Slow down.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. It was in North London area, and he moved in on October 5th, 1981. He burned the remaining bodies he had under his floorboards the day before moving. This was the third fire that he did to get rid of the bodies at that apartment. Now that Dennis is in an attic and can't store bodies under floorboards, and he also no longer has access to a garden to have a fire, his killing stopped for about 4 months. He still had guys over for casual things, but admitted on November 23rd he tried to strangle a 19-year-old he had brought back, but he actually stopped himself. And this will come up later in trial, too, because there was a few moments in any of the majority of the attempted murder situations that he does stop himself from killing them.
He knows what he's doing.
We'll go over that in trial too. His first victim at his new place was in March of 1982. He met 23-year-old John Howlett out at a pub and convinced him to come back to his place for drinks. John drank some rum and watched a movie with Dennis before going to fall asleep in the bed. Dennis, after an hour, went to wake up John unsuccessfully, so he sat there, staring at him until he decided he was going to kill him. He began trying to strangle him when a big struggle ensued. John overpowered Dennis at one point, strangling him until Dennis took back control, unfortunately.
Dang it.
I know. He attempted to strangle John 3 different times and couldn't do it, so he filled up the bathtub and decided to drown him in the bathtub. The struggle left Dennis shaking because this is the first time someone almost took him over.
Yeah.
He even wore the bruises of fingerprints around his neck for a week from the struggle.
Wow.
Nilsen struck again in May 1982 when he met 21-year-old Carl Stoddard at the Black Cap pub. Nilsen got him to come back to his place with promises of alcohol. Carl said he was depressed after a failed relationship. Nilsen promised he wasn't looking for sex, just some company. Carl went and had some drinks before he fell asleep in a sleeping bag on the floor. He was woken in the middle of the night to Dennis strangling him on his chest, whispering, "Stay still."
Oh, God. I don't like that.
Yeah. Thankfully, this strangling did not kill him, though, because he came to with the sound of water running. And Nilsen, in the process of plunging his head under the water to drown him. So he is now in the tub, in the sleeping bag, just woke up, and he is fighting for his life. Okay, so picture this. And when he got
Holy
his head
moly.
above water, he gasped and screamed, quote, "No more, please, no more," before Dennis
Oh,
pushed his head back under.
wow,
Believing
how horrifying.
this, yeah, right. This is crazy. He believing that Carl was dead, he propped him up in the armchair in the living room. And when Dennis's dog Bleep started licking Carl's face, is when he realized that
Bleep.
yeah, Bleep is his name.
Okay.
Bleep is the dog's name. Yeah. Uh, this is when Dennis realized that Carl was still alive. And
Oh no. I was hoping he'd escape.
hold on. Nielsen, for some reason, changed his mind then and started giving Carl aid and even put him in bed until he came back. When he did, Nielsen explained that he was almost strangled by the zipper of his sleeping bag, and he saved him.
What is going on?
Being totally out of it and weak, Carl didn't question anything until he recovered after 2 days. He was in and out of consciousness for 2 days after the struggle.
And still in his apartment?
And still in Dennis's apartment for 2 days, yeah. Dennis explained away the water, saying he was in shock from being strangled, so he put him in the bathtub of cold water. Dennis walked Carl to the train station and sent him on his way.
What on earth just happened?
Yep. And he testifies later, but he never went to police.
I wonder if he was truly just unsure of what happened.
You know what? I mean, would you believe somebody if you just woke up and they're like, wow, you know, like, would you think that they actually tried to
I
kill
guess
you?
I'd also be thinking, how did my suitcase or how did my sleeping bag strangle me?
Yeah, I would have been thinking that too, but, you know.
You know, I would have questioned it a little bit, I think, but
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you don't want to assume that someone was killing you. I don't know.
Well, yeah, what are you supposed to say? You're like,
That's crazy. I'm glad he
weren't you
got away.
strangling me, man? Yeah. Crazy. In October 1982, 27-year-old Graham Allen met Dennis when he was hailing a taxi. Nielsen invited him back for a meal at his place, and Allen agreed. He made him an omelet, and as he ate it, Nielsen strangled him. Allen,
As he's eating.
yeah, he came up behind him as he sat at the table eating his omelet and strangled him. Allen's body spent 3 days in the bathtub before Dennis decided to dismember the body on the kitchen floor.
What did he do with the first guy's body?
He dismembered that one as well, and he is storing, because he's in the new apartment that he has no fire or anything, so he's dismembering these bodies and storing them around the apartment now.
So he dismembers them in the bathtub?
On the kitchen floor.
Oh.
Yeah. He just, Alan's body spent 3 days in the bathtub, and then he dismembered the body on the kitchen floor.
Oh. And he's keeping the body parts around the house?
Yeah, he's wrapping them in plastic bags and putting them in drawers. Yeah, I'll go over later also what else he's doing to help get rid of them.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Nielsen's final victim was on January 26, 1983, 20-year-old Stephen Sinclair. He was last seen by his friends walking down the street towards the train station with Dennis. With alcohol and drugs in his system, Stephen passed out in the armchair in the living room. Nielsen apparently went over to the chair, kneeled down, and said, quote, "Oh, Stephen, here I go again," end quote. He then strangled him with a tie, and when he removed his cuffs later, when he was bathing the body, he discovered deep slashes across Stephen's wrists where he had tried to kill himself.
Huh.
Yeah.
He survived just to be murdered.
Yeah. And it's really, like, a lot of these victims were just people who were down on their luck, honestly.
Yeah. That's sad.
He laid with Stephen's body in bed surrounded by 3 mirrors so he could watch. Like all of the bodies, he had to eventually dismember them and try and hide them. He would wrap the body parts in plastic bags and would store them around the apartment. Some in the wardrobe, a drawer under the tub, and even a dresser drawer. He attempted to dispose of the organs, skin, and smaller bones by flushing the remains down the toilet. Dennis would also boil the skulls, hands, and feet to remove the flesh. On February 8th, 1983, Nilsen and other tenants in the building wrote a formal complaint about the plumbing issues that the building was having.
He wrote a complaint
He
about the
did.
plumbing
Here you
issues
go.
he's causing.
Yep, he pretty much got himself caught because he's a fucking idiot. Michael Cataran was the plumber to come out that day and look into the building's sewer system, where he found fleshy remains clogging the drain. While Nielsen and all the tenants came to see what was going on, they were discussing what the fleshy-like stuff could be. Nielsen chimed in and said, quote, "Looks like someone has been flushing their Kentucky Fried Chicken to me," end quote.
Okay.
So, because it was late, Michael reported what he had found to his supervisor, which then they then decided that they would wait until the next morning to investigate more and figure out whether they were needed to report something. The supervisor, Gary Wheeler, and Michael returned the next morning at 7:30. When they arrived, the drain was magically cleaned. But after digging deeper, they found small bones and flesh in the pipes that led to the top floor apartment. They then called the police, who didn't waste time sending the bones and flesh to the morgue for pathologist David Bowen to then confirm that they were indeed human remains. David even reported that a piece of the flesh from a neck which still had the bruising from being strangled was found in the drain.
Dang.
Yeah. What are the chances, right, of that being found, really? Detective Peter J. and two other officers questioned the other tenants to find out Nielsen was the person who lived upstairs. They decided to wait until he returned home from work to talk to him. When he returned, Officer J approached Nielsen, letting him know he was investigating the blocked drains. Nielsen, of course, acting confused, questioning if the other two men were health inspectors, and he questioned why the police were interested in a blocked drain. Detective J explained the other men were also officers and they would like to come talk to him in his apartment to discuss the matters further. The three officers followed Nielsen into his apartment and immediately when they entered could identify the smell of rotting flesh.
I'm sure.
Nielsen again asked why they were interested in the drain. They finally told him human remains were found in his pipes. Nielsen, of course, pretended to be surprised, exclaiming, quote, "Good grief, that's awful," end quote.
I hope he was sweating. I hope he was nervous.
Yeah, man. I hope he had the bubble guts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hope he was about to shit himself.
Yeah. But Jay was not having his denial and stated back, quote, "Don't mess about. Where's the rest of the body?" Nielsen calmly let them know then the rest of the body could be found in two drawers located in his wardrobe. The officers noted that is where the smell seemed to mostly be coming from. They didn't open it, but continued asking if there were any other bodies to be found. Nielsen responded calmly, quote, "It's a long story. It goes back a long time. I'll tell you everything. I want to get it off my chest. Not here, at the police station," end quote.
You know, it always surprises me when people like this are so forthcoming about everything they've done. I mean, I'm glad they're telling police about it, but
Yeah.
it always surprises me that
I feel like his is like the most like come forward with all spill the beans
Mm-hmm.
person I've
Yeah.
read about. Not that I've read detail
Mm-hmm.
a lot of serial killers, but this one, like and later you'll see, like he took his punishment the way he 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 believed like he deserved his punishment, and
Mm-hmm.
he was not. That's also why, like, and we can talk about it more, but like that's also why I was like, why he was so forthcoming, especially in the beginning, to admit everything, and then later in 1992 tries to say that those other victims um were fabricated. I don't fucking believe it.
Yeah.
The infamous moment Nielsen was arrested and placed in the back of the car, he was asked if the remains were from one or two bodies, and Nielsen stared out the window and responded, quote, 15 or 16 since 1978. After taking him to the station, the detectives returned to collect the evidence at the scene. They initially found two plastic bags in the drawers. In the first bag, two torsos were found, one of which was cut vertically in half. There was also a shopping bag full of organs. The second bag had a skull with most of the flesh gone, another severed head that still had flesh, but both heads had evidence that they were boiled at some point.
These must have been some big
There
drawers.
was,
To have a torso.
yeah, and you have to, we'll post pictures and stuff, but you had to go look at pictures of the apartment. I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to picture it.
Yeah. These poor officers.
I know. There was also another torso with the arms still attached, but the hands had been removed. Back at the station, Nielsen spilled everything. He took them about, he told them about the Melrose apartment and that he had killed most of his victims there. He also informed them of everyone he could remember trying to kill, but ended up surviving, or he stopped himself and let them leave. He named all the hiding places in his current apartment that he had the remains in. He informed them how he got rid of the bodies, and he confessed to it all. Michael, the plumber, contacted the Daily Mirror, a newspaper, to get the story out there. And on February 12th, the story hit national news with pictures of Dennis that the news had received from his mother. By English law, they only can hold Nielsen for 48 hours if they aren't going to charge him. And they were able to get fingerprints from the remains and could confirm them to be Stephen Sinclair's remains. So on February 11th at 5:40 p.m., Nielsen is charged and arrested with the murder of Stephen. Over the next 16 days, Nielsen was interviewed for a total of 30 hours. Nielsen could not give an answer when asked what his motive for the killings were. He insisted he only killed these men in a last-minute decision and never purposely went out to bring these men home for murder.
I don't believe that.
And also, I should say men and boys, because let's remember that he killed a 14-year-old and a 16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nielsen made sure he disposed of any personal belongings to the victims. When interrogated, Nielsen talked about these victims exactly how you would think. To him, he treated these bodies well and kept him company for as long as decomposition would allow.
Mm-hmm.
When asked why he boiled the heads, he stated it was to get rid of the brains and flesh so he didn't have to dispose of those. It was never reported that he ate any of his victims. Nielsen went into detail about disposing of the victims at Melrose, even admitting when it came to disposing of these bodies that he had to work up the nerve with whiskey to dispose of the bodies. He said he vomited many times getting rid of the remains that had reached the state of putrefaction.
Well, sir, you did this to yourself.
Yep. He also admitted to masturbating with the bodies before disposing of them as a final way to say goodbye to his sick, twisted form of a companion. Yeah. When asked if he had any remorse for his killings, he responded, quote, "I wish I could stop, but I couldn't. I had no other thrill or happiness," end quote. He said he did not enjoy the killings, but enjoyed the art of death.
You couldn't just rob a grave like...
Yeah.
I...
So here I have a long quote from him that I just like doing quotes from him because I think this guy's ridiculous as well. So, quote, "I did it all for me, purely selfish. I worshipped the art and the act of death over and over. It's as simple as that. Afterwards, it was all sexual confusion, symbolism, honoring the, quote, fallen. I was honoring myself. I hated the decay and the dissection. There was no sadistic pleasure in the killing. I killed them as I would like to be killed myself, enjoying the extremity of the death act itself. If I did it to myself, I could only experience it once. If I did it to others, I could experience the death act over and over again." End quote.
Okay, I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, I know. That's why, I just want to make sure you get the perspective of this man. And also, I want you to know it also tickles me in a different way that he has a British accent, so just picture that.
Yeah, that's true.
One thing I noticed on how Dennis talks personally, everything he ever says is I. He never talked about the victims, really. And I think this shows how much of a narcissist that he really was. So then Nilsen was transferred to Brixton Prison to await trial. While he was here, he refused to wear the prison uniform. His attitude was he's innocent until proven guilty, and that the uniform was a hard no for him. He also
But he admitted he did it.
He did, yeah, I know. And he does later. Like, he continues with it. So I don't know if he was just pouting because, oh, I got caught, and he was just trying to put up a big stink about something. But, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know where his...
So what do you do, go naked?
I don't know.
He's not going to wear the prison clothes. What other option does he have?
I don't know. Laws are different over there. So maybe... And also it was,
Yeah.
back in the 80s. So maybe it was a little different. He also... threw contents of his prison toilet at the guards, hitting multiple of them with the contents. This caused him to catch a charge of assault and 56 days in solitary confinement.
Oh, wow.
During the trials, Dennis kept going back and forth on representing himself versus his appointed lawyer, Ronald Moss.
Criminals always want to represent themselves.
I know. Don't ask me.
They suck at it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is a huge case. You really want to represent yourself for this?
Right.
He later dismissed Moss. Sorry. Waiting on a thing for somebody, sorry. He later dismissed Moss and got new representation from Ralph Heames. Ralph suggested Nilsen plead not guilty by diminished responsibility. This means he is admitting to the crimes but doesn't take full responsibility as his mental state was affected during the times he killed these victims.
Okay.
Trial started October 24th, 1983. The charges were 6 counts of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. The trial was at Old Bailey Courthouse in front of Mr. Justice Crown Johnson, where
That's where Joanne Dennehy was tried.
Oh, really?
The Old Bailey.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Nilsen was pleading not guilty. The defense was trying to diminish Nielsen's guilt, saying his mental state was not sane enough to take responsibility for his actions, so they were asking for a lesser charge of manslaughter. Douglas Stewart was a witness called to the stand. He relived the scary moments of him in the armchair at Nielsen's, waking up with his legs tied and Dennis strangling him with his knees on his chest.
God.
Stewart overpowered him and Dennis screamed, quote, "Take my money," end quote, and prosecution believing Dennis was trying to make sure the other tenants heard, making it seem like Dennis was being attacked. So remember that. I mean, he's smart enough to do something like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is also set up the narrative that Dennis was in his right mind enough to do that, right? The defense jumped on Stewart's credibility with the amount of alcohol he had consumed that night and some minor details that he had missed in his retelling of that night. 2 other witnesses testified after surviving an attack by Nielsen. Paul Nobbs was one of these men who told their story. Nobbs was a college student out partying for the night when he met Dennis, who offered sex and more alcohol back at his place. He woke up in the morning with the worst headache after what he assumed was just from drinking too much, and then he passed out. When Nobbs looked in the mirror, he could see burst blood vessels in his face, bloodshot eyes, and bruising around his neck. Nielsen told Nobbs, quote, "God, you look bloody awful," end quote. I wish I could do an accent. I really can't, but... and proceeded to tell Nobbs, maybe you should go see the doctor. Because of fear of being gay, and like I said earlier, for all of these, he never reported that crime to the police.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The prosecution held on to the claims that Nielsen targeted homeless men or men who wouldn't likely be reported missing. However, Nobbs and Kenneth, one of his earlier victims, were both students who had families that would be missing them.
Yeah.
I personally think Dennis was just a man of circumstance and opportunity.
Yeah, he didn't care.
No. He had a look he liked, and the men seemed like a good option. I mean, Dennis just capitalized on that, especially out drinking bar scene type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
After Nobbs, Carl Stoddard shared his scary moments with Nielsen with a shaking voice. He went through every moment of him pleading for his life for Dennis to just eventually revive him later. Next, Detective Jay took the stand. He came with a lot of direct proof from statements directly from Nielsen's confession. A quote he read said, quote, "I have no tears for my victims. I have no tears for myself, nor those bereaved by my actions," end quote. Detective Chambers testified as well, also going into detail about how Nielsen was almost overly willing to give them any information they needed, or even gave them detailed instructions to find more evidence against him. An example was he gave police exact location where he burned the bodies and where he disposed of the organs for the wildlife to eat not far from his apartment at Melrose. After following his directions, police were able to find small charred bone fragments in the garden still at the Melrose apartment.
Wow.
Some other evidence that was presented in court included the pot he had boiled the heads in, a cutting board he used to dismember the bodies, and a rusty knife set that belonged to Martin Duffy. So he was literally using the knives of one of his victims to dismember all the victims.
That's messed up.
Yeah, he's quite unhinged, really.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, man.
Mm-hmm. What a sicko.
Yeah. There were two psychiatrists that also testified for the defense, and honestly, their views of Nielsen's condition that could have contributed to his actions didn't provide much more insight into a motive, in my opinion. James McKeith was one of these psychiatrists with interesting input. He believed Dennis struggled to show emotions besides those geared towards anger. He also focused on how Dennis saw these men as almost like pawns he could manipulate to his fantasies. Dennis struggled with his own identity, which could have contributed to how he viewed unconscious or dead bodies as sexually arousing. He also displayed narcissistic tendencies, which could have caused him to dehumanize his victims for his own gain. In conclusion of his statement, McKeith believed Dennis suffered from an unspecified personality disorder. He believed the level of personality disorder should lessen his charges.
Should lessen?
Yeah, he wanted him to have lesser charges, yeah. The second psychiatrist was Patrick Galloway, who was specifically, of course, for the defense. He believed Nielsen suffered from narcissistic personality disorder with a little schizophrenia mixed in there. But he believed Nielsen was able to manage the schizophrenia episodes on his own mostly, and when he would have a mental breakdown, unable to control these episodes, is when he would act without control towards his victims. He concluded that Dennis did not enjoy the crimes he committed, but was aware it was wrong. The psychiatrist the prosecution brought in was Paul Bowden. He had a total of 14 interview hours with Nielsen in 16 different occasions. In his conclusion of Nielsen, he believed he was manipulative and was capable of enough emotion to form relationships with men. He objectified the victims and developed a connection before and after their deaths, and he did not believe he suffered from any kind of personality disorder. Some of the evidence that was presented at the trial are now on display at New Scotland Yard's Crime Museum. They have the entire bathtub from Cranley Gardens, where he drowned Howlett and also kept Alan's body for 3 days.
Oh, wow.
They have the stove from this apartment where he boiled the heads. They have the knife set that he used to dismember the bodies, and also a few different ligatures that he had used to kill his victims, including the headphones, and a homemade one that he used.
Huh.
After 11 days, 9 of those actively at trial, the jury took only 1 day to come back with a guilty of 6 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder, which was for Nobbs. He was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum sentence of 25 years. Nielsen was transferred.
So they only did 1 attempted murder instead of 2?
Yeah, they didn't get him. They couldn't. The jury couldn't come to a definitive guilty on the 1 attempted murder. Yeah. Or like the Hong Kong student.
Yeah.
A lot of these could have been visiting and just, this traumatic thing happened to them and they just went back to their lives and was like, holy shit, and just moved on, Nielsen was transferred to HM Prison Wormwood Scrubs to start his imprisonment. He was classified as a Category A inmate, meaning he had his own cell and could freely mingle with the rest of the men. Not long after he got there, another inmate named Albert Moffat cut Nielsen with a razor across his face and chest. The slashes were bad enough to need 89 stitches in total.
Wow.
He was then sent for a short time to HMP Parkhurst. Then he went to HMP Wakefield. He remained there until 1990 when some concerns over his safety arose, so he was again transferred to a vulnerable persons unit at HMP Full Sutton.
Why don't we care about the safety of these people?
That's a good question. Yeah. That's a good question. Because I don't care.
Yeah.
I think you'll
Yeah,
see
no.
at the end because, like, he also, like, I don't know, he couldn't leave anything alone. You'll see later, like, the guards didn't like him, and, yeah, he suffered a little at the end, so.
Oh, good.
He stayed at this prison until 1993. The next prison was HMP Whitemoor, and he stayed here until 2003. So in 1994, Home Secretary Michael Howard decided to rule Nielsen's term to a whole life tariff, meaning he will serve life in prison instead of the minimum of 25 years. And during all of the time that all of this time that he's in prison, Nielsen never tried to appeal his sentencing and accepted his punishment because he believed it was what he deserved.
That's interesting.
Yeah. He was transferred back to HMP Full Sutton, his final prison he would be in before his death. Here, he got the Category A prisoner treatment, where he got to enjoy reading, writing, painting, and composing music. He worked translating books into Braille. He also, I know, right?
How do you feel about that?
I don't know how I feel about that. Son of a bitch. Fucking reading material for the blind, you son of a bitch. God damn it. I know. I thought it was so funny that what are the chances that that's in here, and then also, like, there was a name earlier. I don't know if you caught it. So.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. He also enjoyed all the fan mail he received, and he would write the letters back to them. He even had time to write a 400-page autobiography that was not published until after his death. He titled it The History of a Drowning Boy. So here again is him referring back to, like, the traumatic experience that he had earlier with drowning. It was like a little piece I sprinkled in there earlier, but it was significant enough for him that he felt it was like a near-death experience that was like a turning point for him as well in his life of how he viewed death as well. Like, not only with his grandfather, but with his drowning experience.
Which is interesting because then he also tried to drown some people.
That is true. You know, I didn't even connect that. He didn't just try. He did drown multiple people.
Yes, no, I mean, well, the one in the suitcase, or not suitcase, the sleeping bag. He survived.
Yeah. Yeah, he tried to drown him. Yeah. So that is interesting. You know, I actually didn't make that connection in this.
Yeah.
He goes into detail about he believed he lived two lives, his quote real life and his quote fantasy life. A quote from him again, quote, when I was with people, I was in the real world, and in my private life, I snapped instantly into my fantasy life. I could oscillate between the two with instant ease, end quote. He claims in this book that his emotions and alcohol he consumed made the perfect monster to commit these crimes. So in 2021, Mark Austin came forward as someone who had exchanged over 800 letters with Nilsen. He said that he had an edited version of Nilsen's book and was set to be published by Red Door Press. Austin apparently took Nilsen's 6,000 pages of notes that he had wrote while he was in prison and edited it down to this autobiography, and it was released on January 21st, 2021, if you were interested in reading that.
That was recent.
Yeah. While in prison, Nilsen tried to get something done about the abuse from the guards. He wrote the Home Office and even the European Court of Human Rights to try and get something done. This, of course, made him pretty unpopular with the guards. I mean, nothing was done. What does he want?
Mm-hmm.
He then took a step further in 2001 when he claimed his human rights were violated. This is a good one for you here, Kirsten.
Okay.
When his gay porn magazines called Vulcan and Him had some more explicit images removed from the magazine before he got them.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, so his human rights were, they were violating his human rights. The case was,
You're lucky they're even allowing you to have that magazine at all,
right?
mister.
Yeah, like, be happy you get pornographic material, period. Especially with your damn
Right, why
crime.
are they even allowing that?
Don't ask me.
This man doesn't deserve any pleasure.
Thank you. I agree. That case, of course, was dismissed because there was no proof of any human rights being actually violated.
Yeah. Right.
In 2006, the remains...
He's just a little bitch.
He's just a little bitch, that's right. In 2006, the remains of Stephen Holmes were identified with DNA. And also a photograph of Stephen was shown to Dennis, and he confirmed that that was him. Holmes was not one of the counts of murder since he was unidentified.
Mm-hmm.
It was decided, though, to not do another trial for this murder since it would not add to his already life in prison sentence.
I guess, but it should still be officially documented that he is his murderer.
Yes, I agree. Yes. On May 10th, 2018, Nilsen was having extreme abdominal pain when he was taken to the hospital. They found he had a ruptured aortic aneurysm and went in and surgically repaired it. But within...
Wow, you're lucky to survive that.
Right? Yeah. Well, he technically didn't. Let's be real here. Because within the next 2 days, Nilsen threw a blood clot, and he was left lying in his bed, in his filth, in his cell for 2.5 hours, where he agonizingly died on May 12th, 2018.
Oh, wow.
It was reported in the autopsy that it was a pulmonary embolism that killed him, and he was 72 years old.
Well, I'm glad it was a painful death for him.
Yes. So another quote I have from Dennis here. Quote, "Loneliness is a long, unbearable pain. There was never a place for me in this scheme of things. I had become a living fantasy on a theme in dark, endless digress. I made another world, and a real man would enter it, and they would never really get hurt at all in this vivid, unreal laws of the dream. I cause dreams, which cause death. This is my crime."
I don't get it.
Yeah. I think at the end, when he's writing all these things, he was starting to really lose it, I think.
Yeah, because that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
No, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of rambling in his notes and stuff that he does. His body was cremated in June of 2018. Only 5 people attended his service. 3 of them were guards, and one of them was his correspondent in prison. His family did...
So we had one.
Yeah, I don't know who that was. It was probably a fan even. I don't know. But he had one person attend his service. His family did not attend. And the prison paid for his service. His remains eventually made their way to his family. He became known by a couple of names, but 2 that I found was the Kindly Killer and the Muswell Hill Murderer.
Kindly Killer?
Yeah. Nilsen admitted to killing 12 men or boys, but we believe it was closer to 15. 3 of the 8 identified victims had addresses, as the rest were runaways, homeless, or sex workers. And I counted 7 victims that remain unidentified to this day.
Okay.
And that is the disgusting case of Dennis Nilsen.
It was interesting, I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
What do you say? What do you say after that?
There was.
Well, how about you give me your opinion then on what you think mentally with him?
Like as far as the diagnosis, I wouldn't know. I mean, he obviously has something, but I don't know if he has like some sort of personality disorder where he's able to differentiate between, or not differentiate. I don't know, between his real world and fantasy world.
Yeah.
Some sort of delusional disorder, maybe.
Yeah. I don't
know, because he was aware of what he was doing because he stopped himself.
Yes.
So it wasn't. I mean, there's something mentally wrong with him, but not to the point where he was mentally insane while doing these.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And also, like, I know I emphasize the alcohol a lot in here because that's always in every single one of these, but he even states how he has to alcohol himself up to dismember these bodies. Like, he is in a right state of mind when he is deciding and, you know, intelligent enough, and I don't mean to call it intelligence, but intelligent enough to be like, I have a rotting body under my floor, I need to get rid of it. You know, how am I going to, like, he was smart enough to think this through before alcoholing, you know, becoming intoxicated to do these things. You know what I mean? And also, like, I do think alcohol played a role, but I think in all the times that he's in his right mind, he knew what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, I agree.
I
mean, he cut bodies up. Like,
yeah.
He burned them.
Got rid of, like, dismember them in different pieces and strategically tried to get rid of them in different ways. Like, it wasn't even just like he thought these things through.
Yeah.
So I feel like he was completely sane doing these things, you know, completely aware of what he was doing and how he was doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I definitely think he was a narcissist, because he did all these things to do nothing but, you know, his own gain type of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let us know how you liked this serial killer. I hope you hated him.
Yeah. Yeah. If there's any other serial killers you would like us to cover, let us know.
Yes.
I mean, because especially with him, I feel like he's not as well known as, like, you know, Ted Bundy and
all the
Jeffrey Dahmer and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, like, those types of cases, I mean, we're not probably going to cover those. They've been done a million times. But if you come across one that, you know, that most people maybe don't know much about, we could try and cover that one.
Like this, being outside of the United States, we probably don't know many outside the United States. So,
right, yeah.
Any of those suggestions?
I forget how I came across his name, but yeah.
Yeah, I never.
I think I literally looked up lesser known serial killers. I think that was what I typed in.
Up. Yeah. Good. Nice Google search. So yeah. Make like a shadow and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast.
Check us out on TikTok at
Lurking in the Shadows Pod.
Any questions, concerns, or case suggestions, shoot us a Gmail at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast at gmail.com. And keep lurking around for our next episode.
Bye.
Bye.